What's up, geeks? Welcome to the first ever episode of Tech Voice India. This is going to be our podcast platform where I have conversations with a lot of people. The first one is about the story of PhoneArena.com. You all know Varun Krishnan. If you don't know, he is the founder and CEO and editor-in-chief of PhoneArena.com, and he's been doing this for quite a long time. So what's the story here? What's the story of PhoneArena.com? Let's listen from him. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Bharadwaj. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great, yeah.
Okay. So today I wanted to ask you a very simple question.
Mm-hmm.
I have already introduced you on the show,
Mm-hmm.
like who you are and what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, how did this all begin? What made you do this? What made you come into tech, and what's your origin story?
So, yeah, it's a long story. So, let me just cut it short. So, I was actually a person who used to be interested a lot in tech in general. I used to go to like the computer market, Ritchie Street, pick up parts, build computers. I used to like figure out what's coming up in terms of components in the computer space. And I also landed up using somebody's satellite phone at that point of time. I used to learn Mridangam, and my Mridangam master was using a satellite phone at that point of time. And then that time, I think you had a Thuraya phone, I guess. And then there was also somebody else I met who was using a Nokia phone with I think it was the one of the old ones with the antenna popping out. And so that's how I got interested. And I was like, wow.
When was this?
This was 2003 or 4.
Okay.
And so back then, I didn't even have access to like high speed. We didn't have access to high speed internet. I think we had probably BSNL, SancharNet, and maybe Airtel, Touchtel just started coming out. I think 128 kbps. Was so thrilled to get that move up from dial-up to that. Wow, 33.6 kbps on the dial-up was awesome. And I just used to hope nobody calls, because the moment somebody calls, the dial-up connection used to give up. So those were the days. So I also used to be a big spec fan. I used to collect spec sheets of cars, of phones, computer components and stuff like that back then. And suddenly I was in college in 2000, probably 2002 I joined college. So probably by 2004 I used to like have a lot of friends, probably the rich kids in class, who actually had cell phones. Cell phones were banned in my university, but we had an Airtel and I think Vodafone counter right at our college entrance.
Okay.
So because the college was freaking far, about 40 kilometers from the city, and there was no way you could survive.
This is SSN, right? Shiv Nadar's college.
Yes. So it was awesome, because I think I should also thank SSN for part of what I managed to do, because I used to spend a lot of time at the computer lab in SSN college. Back in the day, they had like high-speed internet, which was hard to get, and I used to pretty much be in the computer lab. So kind of the story of PhoneArena, something like the social network story, although I don't want to be seen as Mark Zuckerberg in today's context. But very similar though. Like I was in college and I used to spend so much time in the computer lab building, like it was the time Orkut was around. So I used to go check out specs of phones, and so I was like, I need to buy a phone, but it's so much confusion out there. And I was like the to-go guy in terms of tech. People would come to me, okay, I need to buy a phone. We had a CUG plan for the college. So people were like buying SIM cards and connections, and they were like asking me for suggestions. So much was happening, and I was like going through the offline route. You go to Ritchie Street, you get the upcoming product catalogs and everything. It was a slow market back then. Like 3 months from now, what will come, you'll know only like by say what's coming in March. You'll know probably by December, Jan. You'll have to wait, make bookings and stuff like that. And calls were so expensive back in the day. Until we got the CUG, it was so hard to actually. I think my first phone was probably a Nokia 3310 and a Samsung R220. Like having a blue display on the R220 was a big deal. And, so those were the two phones I used to fiddle with back in 2004. Some phones in the house, but then I wanted to get a smartphone, so I was eyeing Symbian, I think a Nokia 6230i was my target.
Oh,
So I
okay.
was, I want to get that phone. It had a great camera and everything. And so that was when Hutch was running promos for 3G. Or not 3G. I think it was Edge.
It was Edge. Yeah,
Even
2.5G.
so it was Edge. So it was like about Edge. So I used to remember I had a good friend by the name Sujan. So who was in my class. We used to take this bus ride, and I used to hijack his phone, like literally play with his phone through the bus ride, and even through the class and everything. Sometimes during college. So he kind of got me. Like he used to tell me that okay, there is so much around the world. There's nothing for India. So I realized there's nothing for India. There was GSM Arena for like Europe. There
Mm.
was something like I think called Mobile Burn in the US.
Oh,
There was
yes.
Phone Scoop. So these were like the players back in the day, and there was I think pretty much nothing for India.
Yeah.
And there was only these forums. I think there was a few forums. I think it was what is it? Um, I don't even remember what was those forums. I think very
Symbian Freak, you remember?
Indian Freak, Mobile Review,
Mobile review,
Freak,
yes.
Mobile Review is where I met Sandeep.
Okay,
Uh,
yes.
and probably through too. I think he used to post in some of those threads.
Right.
So it was awesome how things evolved. So yeah, so that's when I was like in 2004, I started like doing something around the groundwork. So the fun thing was I was also a web dev. So I used to be a
Okay.
freelance web developer making some money building websites. So that was my first venture. It was basically into building websites for people. I used to be in the business of selling domains, web space. So that was what a college kid with internet would do back in the day.
Okay.
So
Okay. Yeah.
either building computers or reselling domains. So
Okay.
there was this company called DirectEye, uh, which I heard is also the same folks behind Zeta. 2003 or 4, I think, was when I first my first domain, and about good 15 years ago. And so it used to be something called .tk domains
Oh,
back in
yeah.
the day,
Free domains.
free domains. Tokelio was one remote country in the Pacific. So I remember
Yes.
registering. I also had a website called vk123.com.
Okay.
It was one of a personal project I had, varunkrish.com. And then PhoneArena, I had .tk, and it was
Okay.
running on free hosting. And then the host calls me one day saying, "There's too many people on the site. We need to shut it down." That's when I actually went. This was back in 2005. That's when I went in for paid hosting.
Oh,
So 2005. So I
okay.
realized just build up this website since I was in the business of selling
Mm.
web dev services. I used to use PhoneArena to kind of showcase my like coding skills. So I can do HTML,
Okay.
I can do CSS, I can do PHP and all those things. I built a catalog of products here, and then I could build something like a store for you as well. So that was
Okay.
the
So
conversation start.
it started out as an experiment,
It started as an
in
experiment.
like
And
how
so
you
I had
wanted to
two
build
reasons to
websites
build
and
it. I had two reasons to build it. One for a selfish need to buy a phone. I had wanted to like buy a phone, and I didn't want to. And back in the day, 25,000 bucks was
yeah,
like huge.
big.
It's a big deal. I still can't fathom how phones have become like so expensive these days. A lakh plus for a phone. Spending even 20, like even more than 5,000 was a big deal back then.
Yes.
I was like, I'm gonna buy a 20,000 phone. If I tell the same thing to my mom, she'll be like no way. So I was like, I need to save up for this phone. Okay, let me do my due research. Started doing some research, put together a database, and also the fun thing was I was having this web dev skill, so I kind of used that to build it.
Mm.
And then this was
Mm.
like my portfolio showcase. See, I
Okay.
have this phone arena, so I can do something for you. So that was going on. I built a lot of websites for several companies, and some of them are still, I think, they have bugged me to like maintain their website and renew their domains.
Okay.
Still do it, including some college friends. So it was
Okay.
during the day. So I was a to-go website guy in college. I used to run
Okay.
symposium websites and all that. So one
Right.
fun incident happened back in college. So I was doing all this. I didn't even have a proper phone. But then if anybody's phone rings in the class, they'll be like, "Varun, get out of the class." And I'm like, "I don't have a phone right now." I was like the poster boy for the tech and phone usage in the class. So I was like, I don't
Okay.
even have a phone. I'll be borrowing my friend's phone and using it. And they'll be like, Varun, get out of the class. And I'm like, the first thing I do, go out, go to the computer lab. So people knew where to find me. If I'm not in the classroom, I'll be in the computer lab.
Right.
The SSN that way was amazing. And apart from being asked to leave the class, it's actually both a good and a bad thing. But one thing was, this was a funny incident. What happened was, one of these semesters, I was in the class and I get called from the dean's office, middle of the day, and I am like freaking out. Okay, did I do
What
something?
did I do?
What did I do now? Am I getting thrown out of college? So turns out the dean wanted to buy a phone, and he wanted my services. So that day I ride with the dean in his car out of college like a cool kid, and go to the city. And beforehand I speak to my dealer friend, tell him, give him a nice pricing. He's my dean, so do take care and give him a. So I ended up buying a Nokia Symbian phone for him. And to that date, that moment is, I still had those goosebumps. Like, okay, did the dean call me for buying a phone? Okay, so that's how it started. So everybody started using the website and started getting traction. And slowly, I think, big thanks to Nokia with their Warm World program.
Oh,
So they
yes.
did something called Warm World, where I got a chance to network with some amazing people around the world, like, and made an amazing bunch of friends around the world. Like, Nokia truly connected people. Like, you might
Absolutely.
know Rita from
Rita Kuri.
Rita Kuri from Lebanon. She's with Android
Yes.
Police now. She was previously with PhoneArena. And then
Yes.
we had like pretty much so many. Clinton, who's with Huawei now. Uh,
Yes.
and then Vaibhav Sharma, who's a lawyer now.
Yes.
And
Michael Hell.
Michael Hell from Austria. And
Yes.
then we have a tremendous bunch
Mark
of
Wim.
people. Mark Wim, who's with
Mark
I
Wim.
think the Windows Central now. I mean, Nirav. And so many people were in touch all of a sudden. And these guys, the best thing about those days was, considering what was happening last week or last month in India, back in the day, Nokia was awesome. First thing, they are sending you a phone for free, for not for keeps, but for using. And
Yes.
sending you like a Nokia N95 back then was wow. You couldn't
Yes.
afford it and you couldn't play with it. Sending it to you without any questions asked, without any preconditions, and they would send it to you and just
Yes.
ask you, if you like anything about it, write about it. If you don't like it, write about it. So that's how awesome they were, and that's how I think they are probably a reason why PhoneArena is what it is today, because
Absolutely.
we still stand for what the users want, and we don't care about uh, several other things. What we care is we put ourselves in consumer shoes, and we stay true to it, and we are neutral, and we stay. If a product is good, it's good. If a product is bad, we don't mince words. So if the product is bad, it's bad.
Right.
So that was so awesome. Nokia was back then. They
Yes.
used to send products, several products. I remember I used to run to DHL to get it cleared and customs and everything. It was like amazing getting that all the way. The bad news was when they called for asking it back after a few weeks, uh, return it. And
Yes.
so that culture was amazing. Like, they used to not really even ask for anything positive, or not even ask for anything. They're like, if you feel like writing anything about it, you can write about it. If not, we would love to know your feedback. So that's
Right.
awesome. It was some awesome folks at Warm World, including James Watley, Donna,
Yes.
um,
Katie,
Katie, Lydia, I mean,
Lydia. Yeah.
Tom Hall. So these bunch
Tom.
of people were like amazing. They used to keep us excited about tech. And
Yeah.
so what happened was, it slowly, once one company starts doing this, slowly Samsung got in touch,
Mm-hmm.
BlackBerry got in touch. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, what the hell is happening? Why are companies sending us these products? And I was, due to personal reasons, I was, I think, in the US at that point of time in 2008. So what
Okay.
happened? The fun thing. What happened was, I got hired in my first job due to PhoneArena. So I was still in
Okay.
college. I was attending my placement. So I landed up
Okay.
with this company called Photon, which was into web services. And my interview
Okay.
was like a project discussion. So I tell them about PhoneArena, and they're like, "You're hired. Okay, let's continue the discussion."
Okay.
So it was fun, and that's when I also met Praveen. I think
Okay.
Praveen also ended up in the same company. We were in the same college,
Yes.
but we ended up being colleagues again, and so it was fun. And Photon was a great company to work for, because I could do the same stuff I enjoyed and loved. So I figured out that my life is going to be on the web.
Okay.
I didn't like hardcore IT much. What I
Okay.
figured out is the web is where the fascination for me was in the web
Right.
and tech or gadgets. So I wanted to do something around gadgets and the web, and that's how PhoneArena was born. And
Okay.
then the job, I was awesome. I was happy because we used to work on cutting edge tech on the web side of things,
Okay.
and I was like almost quitting my jobs. I was like, okay, PhoneArena is great. I was getting bigger, and I couldn't kind of manage it myself. So I started hiring some freelancers, and
Right.
a lot of people used to write.
So when
And
was this?
this
This
was
was
2007, 8.
2007, 8. So that's when Phone Arena became your focus.
Yeah, so 2007, 8, it was still my focus. I used to still run it like more of a hobby. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't making much of a revenue or anything. It was more of a hobby,
Mm-hmm.
but it was getting serious because the traffic was shooting up,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "This is getting serious, and this looks more serious than my job. So maybe I need to do something about it." So it was like steadily rising. So from 2005, probably we had like 5,000 users or 10,000 users in the first month. So we were
Okay.
looking at a million users or something in 2007, uh,
Okay.
2008. And then I was like, okay, this is getting serious. So I need to quit my job. And the job also was, I was working on some interesting things, but got boring. So I was
Mm-hmm.
working on something boring. So I ended up telling my company I'm going to quit my job. And they are like, we have an
Okay.
opportunity for you in Silicon Valley. Would you like to go? And
Okay.
till then, I hadn't set foot outside the country.
Right.
So it was the first time I was going abroad, and I was like, okay, let me see, maybe get a different perspective. So I put things on a back burner yet again, and I had more freelancers so that I could concentrate on my job rather than on
Right.
phone full time. So I was still like kind of working on this in my like spare time. I
Right.
remember I was in Chicago when the first Android phone launched.
Okay.
Ended up getting the T-Mobile G1 when I was in Chicago from a T-Mobile store and cracking it through a friend on eBay. And I
Okay.
still have the device. I don't know if I can show it right now, but the T-Mobile G1 is probably my first Android phone.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
still have it. And so that's when I decided, okay, this thing can't continue. Let me just return to India. And at the end of 2008, I decided to quit for good. And 2009 beginning, I got into kind of phone arena full time and
Okay.
started hiring. Started looking for an office. Sadly, couldn't find any.
Mm-hmm.
Because back then I think people looked at startups and companies in a different way. Things have
Yes.
changed tremendously in the last 10 years, but finding an office space in Chennai was next to impossible back then. Uh,
Mm.
so finally I found a space and then started hiring people. That's when Siraj came into the team. Uh,
Mm.
Praveen was still on working, but he was I was trying to get him here full time, and Dhruv also joined around the same time, and then
Yes.
Sandeep, I think was around the same time he was freelancing, and Rita, Michael, everybody was contributing at the time. So I doubled down on Phone Arena, and 2009 was when Nokia invited me for the Nokia World in
Okay.
Germany.
Yes.
So that was like a moment of disbelief. Like, did Nokia really is Nokia really flying me to Stuttgart for their Nokia World Conference? And I was like, I was so thrilled to be at the conference and was meeting product managers like the guy who made the N900. So
Yes. Okay.
and the Nokia Symbian phones with the first time they had touchscreen on it. So it was amazing. So since then, I've traveled so much, but that was the first time we got invited for an international launch, and till date,
Okay.
special moment. And I remember I starved to the trip because in Germany the food was bad, and I think I had pretty much only potato salad. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Yes.
But it was fun going and meeting a
Okay.
bunch of people and sharing thoughts.
So what were your thoughts on, so you said like you saw web as the next big thing. Uh, did people tell you that this was not it, or did they tell you this was it, or how did you see that whole thing manifesting, this web thing? Why
So
did you bet on it?
So I think since I was already working in the web space, I did have some insight into it. And since being on the job, which was also something similar, I used to work on something like an English teaching platform for. So we also used to do something on the web. So I
Okay.
used to also on my spare time, I used to attend these web standard conferences, and I had a passion
Okay.
for web coding and web standards. So I used to also spread the word about it. I used to take part in these events like Mobile Mondays, and I started Mobile Monday Chennai
Oh,
chapter
yes. Yes.
back then. And I used to also internally in the company I used to work for, I used to spread the need for web standards and the web. So I think I was kind of biased that web is the thing, because if anybody told me even the web is not going to stay, I would be like, I know what I'm talking
Okay.
about, because
Because you
I'm
were in the development side of things.
yeah, I was pretty much living the web life already. So,
Okay.
and we used to, I remember working on a lot of web related stuff as a freelancer as well. So I used to be a freelance web dev. I used to work on WordPress since I think version 3, and I think PHP Nuke or
Okay.
PHP BB was a WordPress, was a forum software.
Okay.
Then you
Yes.
had,
Yes.
WordPress, you had .NET Nuke, you had Joomla and whatnot. So I used to play around with a lot of open source softwares, customizing it, and so the web, and that's where I was a freelancer. So as a college kid, I was making money through something which I was learning. So it was amazing, and and I could see more and more people coming online, and
Mm.
that's when I think AdSense was just taking off. Uh,
Yes.
and a lot of other players, advertisers were approaching us, and all that thing was happening. So it was just the web revolution, web 2.0 rather revolution was like kind of taking
Okay.
place. And yeah,
And
I
you're
think,
just part of it.
yeah, and we were just, I think, in the right time. Could have been slightly earlier, I think, probably a year or two early to get a more head start. And
Okay.
I have great inspiration from Amit Agarwal, our India's one of best bloggers,
Labnol.
Labnal. So he's a amazing inspiration. He actually, his blog is called Digital Inspiration.
Yes.
But yeah, he's an amazing guy. I used to be inspired by him. Like, somebody can quit their job and go vlogging full time. Whoa.
Okay.
Okay. So, and there was another amazing person who's not around anymore, Atul Chitnis.
Oh, yes.
He was one amazing. He was the one who used to tell me, web is not the future. Mobile is the future. So
Hmm.
web is just a transient phase. Everybody is going to go mobile 10 years from. I used to wonder, how can web go away? Now we're seeing it today. That he's not here to see the geo revolution. He
Yes.
passed away a few years ago. But he was one amazing inspiration to me, and he was like giving me a great piece of advice. He's like, always stay true to the product and your users. So like stay like true to the product. If it's a
Hmm.
great product, you should like give it the due diligence. If it's a bad
Yes.
product as well, you need to point out and save consumers from investing in it because they are trusting you. So that's when I think we carved out a niche for ourselves. I mean, we have competition now. We've had competition before. When PhoneArena is big today, but back then we were a nobody.
Hmm.
We
Hmm,
were
hmm.
just new to the whole media and blogging side of things. And but what till date, what users love about us is our original opinion about the product and the tech,
Right.
passion for tech. And pretty much everybody in our team is passionate about tech, and they
Yes.
kind of are here because they love mobile phones or gadgets or anything. And I think we are stuck with the name Phone Arena, but I think we are beyond that. We've covered even
Hmm.
cars and others kind of categories. But yeah, so we do have a great passion, and I think till date, I've never. I mean, I've never felt like I think I have kind of sad about the state of products these days which come out,
Hmm.
but still I'm not bored about the market we are in. It's getting
Hmm.
interesting day by day. Who would have
Yes.
thought we would have gigabit internet in Chennai of all places, like in 2018? And we had, like, the moment act came to we didn't even have proper broadband beyond I think 8 mbps until like
Yeah.
2015. Suddenly, all
Yes.
of a sudden, Act comes in and changes the ball
50
game.
Mbps, 100
100
Mbps.
Mbps. And I'm like, I have a gig internet at home, and people are like, my friends in the US are like, how much do you pay for it? I said like $50, and I'm like, they are like shocked. And thanks to Geo, the whole I remember used to pay like almost 50,000 for lease lines back in the day,
Yeah.
like when we first set up the office and like 10
Mhm.
years ago. Now we get gigabit for like $3,000. So
Amazing.
it's an amazing time to be in this industry because uh, imagine you can actually like do this live video stream with a Geo
Mhm.
phone or Airtel or Vodafone or whoever, like wherever you are. And things have gotten, although it can get better, but still these we have gone from what the carrying around those Reliance dongles to
Yeah.
those Tata CDMA dongles to like
Yeah.
just and see what's happened with data plans. I never even bothered checking how much data I have because
Yeah.
that's much data is available to every user now.
Yeah.
Like
Like the college students who are getting into the market right now, they don't know what we face. I remember I used to pay $650 per month for 2 GB per month.
I remember, although it's a bad thing for the whole telecom industry, the average revenue per user has gone down. But then I think the increase in users will kind of make it up. But I remember I
Yeah.
used to pay nothing less than 2-3 thousand per month every month for like a gig or 2 gigs of data, and used to have like 100 minutes, which I used to get free on my CUG, and it was like I used to end up with easily 2-3 thousand of a bill every month. And sometimes
Mhm.
it would even end up 5,000, 10,000 if I travel. And sometimes you are forced to use roaming because you not want to buy a SIM card. Now,
Yeah.
even that has changed with even Airtel and Vodafone. They have really interesting international roaming plans. You pay like, I think about, I took one on one of our trips and I had unlimited incoming calls from India, part of the plan, which was kind of unheard of until recently.
Wow, that's
And
great. So
we also have.
I wanted to ask you about this Mobile Monday. How did all that began?
So Mobile Monday, I think thanks to our friends like Kiruba Shankar
Mhm.
is a big event organizer in Chennai. He's also one of
Yes.
I think I got in touch with them thanks to things like Block Camp, Wiki Camp, which were happening back in
Okay.
2005-6, where I was
When
just
blogging was getting into
blogging
that.
was getting bigger. So
Yes.
I presented at an event I think in 2006
Mm-hmm.
at something called Block Camp, and some folks were like, we should start something like a Mobile Monday in Chennai. So
Okay.
so I started it, and Nokia again, they wanted to be part of it. It's a forum Nokia. So
Okay.
they partnered with us, and we had several events in Chennai where it actually sadly used to happen on a Saturday because Monday is impossible for anybody to come to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we had events in Saturday or Sunday in several events, even in IIT Madras, in some clubs and everywhere. And a few friends from the startup fraternity also were interested. So we had a great amount of fun. This was 2005-6, and sadly
Okay.
went into a quite a mode because I was not in the country, and then a
Okay.
couple of others were taking over, but they also tried. But then I think people don't have much time anymore for these events unless
Mm.
it's a really interesting event, and it needs to. I'm seriously thinking about reviving it because it
Mm-hmm.
was some great memories. So Kiruba presented, a few startups in Chennai
Okay.
presented, Atul
Mm-hmm.
presented. He used to work for this company, was doing I think something geodesic systems. I don't know what they used to do, something around um, I think podcasts and something around.
Okay.
They're doing something
Okay.
around audio, and
Okay.
there was another company, I think Opera Software. There was a guy who came all the way from North
Oh.
who presented as well because they were betting big on WAP and WML and all those things.
Okay.
And so it was amazing to get brands you generally use on a like a computer to get and interact with not just you, but you get the room audience in the room also to interact with them. And that's how
Mm-hmm.
I got fascinated by these events. I also was a volunteer for several of these events in Chennai. We had
Okay.
several such events like Block Camp, Search Camp, Wiki Camp.
Mm.
Proto was one of the earliest. There are so many startup events which happen around the country these days, but I think 2008 we had one of the earliest startup events in Chennai. It was I think here in Chennai we had something called proto.in, And
Okay.
yeah, it was amazing to see a startup event in Chennai. So I think we were kind of slightly ahead of the curve back then.
That's great.
Yeah.
So talking of events, you know what the biggest mobile event is this these days or these years? It's been happening for how long? I don't know. You tell me. When did you first go to Mobile World Congress and how do you see that event?
Okay. I think I'm already making my mind prepared for next few days, which is the Mobile World Congress. It's going to be my probably 10th year this time around.
Oh,
So been going, Fins even kind of learned Spanish going to Barcelona every year. So it's amazing how things change. So I think my first event for Mobile World Congress was in 2010, where I was like, I've been always wanting to go to these events. I always get invited by even the CES committee or the MWC organizers to attend. I get the press pass, and then I was like, should I really go? Should I book the tickets and go? Can I manage covering the event and everything? Because I had always gone to like single brand launch events, but not I was not pretty new to events, covering events.
Mhm.
So what happened 2010? I was like, I am going this year. Okay, let me just book the tickets. So it was Barcelona, so I had to get the Schengen visa and everything, and so it was a painful process getting it.
Still is.
It is much better, but
Okay.
it used to be a lot of paperwork, and they pull up your financials and everything, and I was like, I don't know what they're asking for. So it took
Mhm.
so much time, and I was like, uh, should I go or not? Okay, finally the visa came through. I was like, hey, I'm going. So I booked the tickets, and crazy shit happens. I think it was Jet Airways or somebody. They lost my bag.
Oh, the first time.
First trip. It
Okay.
was a disastrous trip in the making. So
Okay.
I go all motivated to cover it, to cover the conference. And I'm thinking, okay, Barcelona should be a warm enough place. There are beaches nearby. It was February though. And I go in my cargos and t-shirt, and my bag, I don't even have a jacket.
Okay.
I don't even have my tripod or anything. Everything is in my check-in luggage, and it's lost.
Yeah.
I think it was when Chennai, Brussels, yeah, Brussels. So I have made it to Barcelona, but my bag hasn't made it.
Okay.
And I was staying in an apartment, and luckily though, I had company. So one of my college friends, Anjan, so he
Oh,
in
yes.
Europe, so he was living in Switzerland at that point of time. So he was
Okay.
like, "You're coming to Europe, I'll join you." So he actually said, "I want to also help you cover the show."
Okay.
So he also came over and like help us cover the show, and we attended like so many events, and I was like, this was amazing. Still never gets tiring. I mean, although physically you do get tired, mentally it's amazing going to that city, and it feels much more familiar now. I couldn't even understand a word of Spanish that back then,
Okay.
and it was hard. And I felt sick because I didn't even have proper clothes, and I thought it'll be like okayish weather. I go there, I'm freezing to death because it's raining. You know what happens when it rains in Barcelona in February?
Yeah.
It's just winter
Yeah.
getting out. So I was like sick, and it's tiring as well. It takes the energy, sucks energy out of you being at the conference and so many events, and you kind of underestimate how do you even walking the show floor. It takes a lot of time, and
Yeah.
it used to be in the old venue, Firad the Montjuic, which used
Okay.
to be two sets of halls. You actually cross a bridge to go to the and a big overbridge you cross, and the hall 7 and hall 8 used to be there, and many
Okay.
of the booths used to be on the outside. So you're walking through the cold, and
Okay.
like 100,000 people at the event, and but yeah, I'm never ever coming back again. Uh, and see,
Okay, that's from the first time. You've been thinking this from the first time.
yeah, being there for the first time, and but then things got better. So I still regret I didn't stay longer because I immediately left after the conference. So I never could do any kind of sightseeing or see the
Okay.
city in a normal way,
Mhm.
because when I came it was chaos. When I was leaving it was chaos. It's a beautiful city. It's a beautiful part of the world, Barcelona. Now I kind of love going every year because I think ran into. Luckily, I got back my bag. The airline,
Okay.
I think Brussels Airlines or Jet Airways, they contacted me, and I even started shopping because I had
Okay.
insurance. So luckily, I did buy something to save myself for the time being.
Mhm.
So the bag came 2 days after the conference started. So a little late, but it was still better than not getting it at all.
Okay.
So
So almost like it's been this is your 10th MWC.
yeah,
So you're going to MWC this time.
yeah.
So what do you expect? We'll end with this. I would like to continue taking the story forward at later points in time, asking you different kinds of questions about phone arena and that. But we'll end with what is the most expected thing from your experience of going to MWC for 10 years. What are your expectations for MWC 2019?
I think we're going to be seeing a lot of interesting tech this time round. I think there's always this debate about okay, MWC is dying, CES is dying,
Mm,
IFA is dying. All the brands are doing individual launch events. Okay,
mm,
we no longer need to go to MWC. So funny thing, even I thought the same way until like December or probably January.
mm.
Then I was like, okay, let me. Normally, I usually book my tickets well in advance. This time, okay, doesn't seem really interesting. MWC, okay, let me just not go. It's going to be probably like CES. So CES has become certainly a dud. Uh,
Yes,
but considering from our point of view, it's still interesting from a overall tech point of view. But from a mobile point of view, it's not much in there. But MWC, every time I go, I think except for 1 year when I think Nokia kind of went through a bad time when
mm,
they didn't even have a phone launch in I think 2011 or 2012 or 13. I think that was when
yeah.
that MWC was kind of cold.
Mm,
Apart from that, every single year I've come back with so much of interesting products
mm.
being showcased and so many interesting not just phones but so many interesting applications of tech, and it's also helped me understand that it's not just about the phone or the gadget you hold in the hand.
Mhm.
It's much more bigger than that. Like folks from NTT Docomo, every year they show up something interesting. They had like live
Okay.
translation, video translation. They have something from 5G this time around, like live robotic surgery or something. So I
Mm.
think we're going to be seeing a lot from the 5G side of things this time around,
Okay.
and including I think real phones. A
Mhm.
lot of brands have been talking about real phones, and one thing I think is going to be a trend, which I was most looking forward to, and we never saw anything until recently, are foldable phones.
Right.
Uh, I saw that this FlexPal Royal, that's one of the devices which I recently saw somewhere. Somebody from the industry had it.
Yeah.
Uh, that's one interesting product. So I think we're going to be seeing. I think even ZTE is teasing something.
Yes.
Huawei is teasing something. Samsung is
Yes.
definitely showing up something. So
Yes.
it's going to be amazing. And even Google themselves have changed the ecosystem itself to support flexible displays.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is
Yes.
huge. And because this is the form factor which never attained any kind of maturity or working solution till now.
Mm.
But I think come 2020, you're going to have mainstream flexible displays, wearable displays going mainstream. So 2019 and at MWC, maybe we'll see a prelude to it. Maybe by IFA in Germany later this year, we would see final versions of it. So I'm really
Okay.
excited and looking forward to that concept,
Okay.
foldable displays, because that's going to change how we use our products and how I think we've seen some. I've actually seen some early protos of
Mhm.
panels. We've seen them being
Yes.
exhibited, like
Yes.
LG displays, Samsung displays. All these companies keep showing up, but
Yes.
there's nothing more interesting when that component makes it into a real market product.
Mm.
So that's going to happen. I think we'll
Okay.
also 5G is also going to change. Although for India we might not have an immediate impact,
Mhm.
but I think worldwide we're going to see a immediate adoption of 5G, and
Yes. And it begins with this year, right?
yeah, so 2019, end of
So it's
20.
a landmark year. Every 10 years. So it's only every 10 years that 4G or 5G comes, like the next generation change.
I
So
think the adoption from switch from 4G to 5G, I think will be the quickest because its technology is matured, and also people are consuming more data and there are more
yes.
applications. So 5G is not just about speed, like we've discussed about this.
Yeah.
So it's going to be bringing in much more applications in terms of like automation,
Yeah. Yeah.
IoT, and automobile tech. So
Yeah.
So that's also something. And also MWC has become much more interesting from just a tech show. A huge section of it is also something about automobile, the ecosystem,
Mm,
5G, the operators. Um, so I think also enterprise is also becoming a
mm,
big story.
mm.
So
Yeah.
Samsung, I mean, there are multiple booths brands hold. Like I think Samsung has a consumer portfolio in one hall, an enterprise portfolio in another hall,
Yes.
and I'm just looking forward to it. And
So, so I can
LG,
say it's foldable phones, 5G, and the rest of the stuff that's slowly building up
yeah,
around.
and I think we're going to be since uh, we're going to see also I think something surrounding this because with 5G, like the possibilities, like you could have like something like an HTC Vive, but
Mm.
over cellular or
Yes.
over wireless.
Yes.
Like it's
Yes.
going to, I think they can call it not just virtual reality, but something like experience. You call it, I think VR, XR, whatever you call it, AR,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
I
Right.
think
Right. Right.
Microsoft also, I think, kind of confirmed they're showing off the next HoloLens as well.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
that's going to be interesting. And another thing I'm looking forward to is cameras.
Okay.
Mobile camera tech is something which is so underestimated. We all use our phones so much these days. So I remember carrying my like big heavy camera. I remember first time I went, I carried a Handycam, a Sony Handycam, so big, and it was like we need to charge those batteries and stuff like that. Now I shoot with my iPhone or Google Pixel.
Yeah.
So now I'm
Absolutely.
like, so it's like changed so much how um, it's the possibilities. Like
Mm.
you couldn't do it. Like you couldn't shoot like production grade video with
Yes.
just a phone until recently, or even
Yes.
photos. Like with the
Yes.
Google Pixel and the iPhone, I just don't need a DSLR for being reporting from the field. So it's
Absolutely.
just amazing how things have changed. And so Nokia is teasing something.
Yes.
Samsung obviously, is coming up with the S10. Huawei also is showing up something. So
Yes.
LG is showing up something as well.
Mm.
So cameras in the camera tech is going to be amazing to watch,
Yes.
and this also means that most of our current gadgets will become obsolete. We always
Yeah.
want the best. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's something else we need to look forward to. I think these are the the main things I'm interested in are the foldable displays, the camera tech which is going to come out,
Okay.
and also the XR, VR, and also 5G and some related
Great, great,
areas.
great. So I'd like to keep talking to you about these technologies and all those things because I've seen that from your story, everyone now watching this will know how big the timeline is since you've been covering tech.
Yeah,
What you've been seeing, I think the younger generation needs to see, they need to know, and they need to understand where we are coming from.
yeah.
So that's why I'm starting this series. So I'm very happy that you have joined me on the first episode. We'll keep doing this, and let's go to the next episode and see what we can do.
Yeah, thanks. Great speaking to you about it. And thank
All
you
right.
guys for watching. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.
See you. Bye bye.